Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, all praises and double honors due to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Secondly, Brother Yardan W5 Detroit coming back at you with yet another cold cut. In this video, I'll be doing the verse of the day. Now, the verse of the day for me is in Proverbs 11 and 24. Before I dive into it, I want to give a warm welcome to the men, women, and children that are scattered throughout the four corners of this world, laboring day in and day out. And by laboring, I mean study, praying, fasting, reading, bringing forth fruit meet for repentance, anything to magnify the name of the Lord and glorify his name. And so with that, I'm going to dive into the verse, which is Proverbs 11 and 24. There is that scattereth and yet increaseth, and there is that withholdeth more than is meet, but tendeth to poverty. What does this mean? What is a proverb? A proverb is a dark sentence. And it's not dark in the sense of it being wicked or it being likened to naughtiness, but dark because it's shrouded by mystery. Things that are mysterious, it's hard to really conceptualize. But of course, through the Spirit of the Lord, it illuminates that darkness. Through the Spirit of the Lord, really, you're only allowed to understand what it means. So with that being said, again, there is that scattered. And this can be compared to a lot of things. That's what a metaphor is. At its core, it's comparing the qualities or trait of one thing unto another. And so typically, throughout the scriptures, a lot of things are compared to agriculture, such as seeds, planting, animals. And so one thing that is scattered is seed. And pursuant to, I'll bring it out real quick, Salakia. In 2 Esdras 8 and 40, it reads this. I'll read verse 41. For as the husbandman soweth much seed upon the ground and planted many trees, and yet the thing that is sown good in his season cometh not up, neither doth all that is planted take root. Even so it is of them that are sown in the world, they shall not all be saved. And that's a very true statement. That's 100% true. And that means what? Us as husbandmen, we sow the seed. The seed is the truth. The seed is the understanding that you're an Israelite, or perhaps a certain concept or doctrine. Anything that revolves around the truth, that can be compared to as a seed. In 1 Corinthians 11 and 3 and 6, it reads this. I have planted, Apollo watered, but God giveth the increase. So there we see again men being associated with agriculture and nature, seeds specifically, because seeds aren't just sown anywhere, they're sown in a vineyard. They're sown on your property. And in this case, we read that Paul, writing to the church of Corinth, is telling them what? I have planted and Apollo watered, but God giveth the increase. The same way it's written in 2 Esdras, the only increase that can happen is from the Most High God. The same way it is when you're reading Proverbs. Only God can give you the increase. Someone can break it down to you. The other person can expound upon a point. But it's really up to the Most High's will if he allows you to see what that proverb is saying. The Lord illuminates your eyes to perceive the darkness that's covering that proverb. It's Psalm 72 and 1. What's the like here? Before I get that, let me go back. Proverbs 11 and 24. There's that scattereth and yet increaseth. And that's a technique used in agriculture as well. When you scatter, I believe, I'm gonna look it up. It has a special word. It's called, the most common method for scattering seeds is called broadcasting, or it's scattered sowing. This involves distributing seeds by hand or machine over a wide area of prepared soil. It's a simple technique that can be used for lawns, wildflower patches, or to achieve a natural, less regimented look in a garden. So it's called broadcasting, and that's what we do with this truth. Right with the seeds, we broadcast it. On the highways and byways in a cheap corner place of the city, we broadcast the word. We sow the seeds. And a man's mind can be likened to the ground. man's mind can be either fertile, or it can yield some fruit. It's able to yield some beautiful trees if the Lord allows it to, or it can be, the earth could be, what's the word? Salaki. The earth could just be solid and not soft, not allowing any seeds to grow. So again, there's that scattereth and yet increaseth. And on another fold, even in the book of Ecclesiastes, it reads this. Ecclesiastes 11:1, cast thy bread upon the waters, for thou shalt find it after many days. And this in itself is another dark sentence that can be likened to many things. Bread is typically referred to as knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, or even money in some cases. And so when you cast your bread amongst the waters, and that waters in some cases in the scriptures is referred to as nations, but in another level it could be a person, or it could be the way that you just, it could be a person in a way too, right? Or a situation. You put your money in this certain situation or a person, and if you don't receive it back from them, hey, you're going to get it from the Most High. That's Sirach, the 12th chapter. Let's get it. Sirach 12 and verse 1. When thou wilt do good, know to whom thou doest it, so shalt thou be thanked for thy benefits. Do good to the godly, and thou shalt find a recompense, and if not from him, yet from the Most High. So when you cast your bread upon the waters, if you don't receive it back from a certain man or somebody, or to who, if you feel like you're not going to receive it, I mean, guess what? The Most High is going to give it back to you.
That'll be the UFC truck till I crash.
So again, this is Proverbs 11 and 24. There is that scattereth and yet increaseth. And this could also go into your goods. Whatever things you may have. A lot of men in the ancient world, they sold a lot of their goods. They sold a lot of things. They gave up a lot of stuff. And so there's that scattereth and yet increaseth. And you increase because, as they say, even in this world, less is better. The more you give, I mean, that shows that you have a contrite, it's like a contrite heart, and a heart filled with wanting to do good for your people. All right, performing alms and charity. Paul said, without charity, I am nothing. So in another way, that can be compared to charity. He that scattereth and yet increaseth. So, ironically, the more you give away, the more you're going to have ultimately through the Spirit of the Lord. And there is that withholdeth more than is meet, but is tendeth to the poor, right? Then you have some that withholdeth more than what they should, and it's like an intense poverty, and that can be likened likened spiritually, because in this life you're meant to give, right? Freely as you receive, freely shall ye give. Let's see. Got another verse. This is Sirach 31 and 24. Whoso is liberal of his meat, men shall speak well of him, and the report of his good housekeeping will be believed. That too can be likened to Sirach. It's like Proverbs 11:24. And then there's verse 24. But against him that is a niggard, that's not to be confused with nigger or nigger or negro, but against him that is a niggard, that means someone who is selfish, right? So, but against him that is someone selfish, of his meat the whole city shall mourn, and the testimony of his niggardness shall be not doubted of. So he's going to be shown for somebody who gives nothing. You don't want to be known as that person that just gives nothing. That's why it's going to tend to poverty, all right? Because we do things so that our people may be restored and healed. Sincerely, That's why we may give away alms and charity, so our people can be restored and healed and have something, anything that they may lack. But if you have a lot or more than enough and you're not giving up anything, and then that's why the Lord said it's easier for a camel to enter to the eye of a needle than a rich man into the kingdom of heaven. Because it's hard for a rich man to give up things. He can't do it because he loves materialistic things. But it's a lot more I could go into. But again, this is meant to be a quick cold cut. Abba Ratziza, Israel is edified through the Spirit, empowered Yahweh Shem Yahushai. With that, Brother Yardan, Shalom.